Hello everyone and welcome to another video, and this one is going to be about the new online time trial challenge. And yes, it's Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in this Red Bull Junior X 2014 car, which is kind of hard to drive, but these are wet conditions. And as you can see, the times are getting pretty ridiculous, I would say. 36.4 from Killian, but you need only a 241 for the gold. So we can have a look at what Killian did to achieve his lap time, and that's actually what I do before I get started with my base, or with my base lap, and just build on that. Let's have a look. Intermediates. I'm braking at 100. He's going down to first, but avoiding the curb. Second. Okay. So we are avoiding the curbs. Is it gonna be flat out? No, a little lift. No, it's a little lift now. And you have to use the dry line. So I don't think he will even use the curbs that much. Maybe, but now for braking, I don't think so. No, no. Okay, here, yes. Here, still, yes. Here, yes, he's using the curbs. Okay. But he's not braking on the curb, which is usually the case here. Third gear. Okay. Not putting all the power down. Okay, this is gonna be hard. This is going to be hard to get. Because when I'm watching, he's really struggling with the rear grip. Avoiding the puddle here. Okay. Much wider. Braking on the curb, no. Okay, only using a couple of curbs, and when he touched that puddle, it really pushed him wide. This one, ooh, avoiding even this one. Okay. Shift at about 8,750. Now he's using the curbs, but really avoiding those wet parts of the track. Okay, it looks like it's a 236, so let's see how, it's gonna be difficult, but I'm gonna once again limit myself to like 100 kilometers, and let's see what I can do. So I started with the lap, and this Red Bull Junior car isn't really the easiest car to drive, especially in these conditions. So if you want to use some assists, you can. I'm not using TCS, I'm not using anything, but some kind of a stability management is something that I would recommend. Okay, Eau Rouge and Radeon, it's kind of getting okay, but it can be a little slippery on the way out, and just if you touch the curb, if you just go over the puddle or something, the car really loses control. So you have to be very careful about the puddles in this track. And you can see sometimes the lines that I use aren't really the best lines in dry conditions, but in wet conditions they're actually quite okay. But here I thought to myself, okay, maybe the car can brake a little bit later. I mean, it's not actually going that quick. So I tried to brake as late as possible, but it really didn't work out, and it just pulled me away and I was into the puddles. But still, it was a 40.5, which is a gold. I mean, it's kind of okay, but as you can see, it's very easy to lose the car, even in third gear. I mean, using second gear isn't really an option in some corners, and you definitely have to use a higher gear to get out of certain sections. It will definitely get you more traction, and this is probably the worst idea that you can do. I mean, I just knew that I had to use a little bit less track on the way out because there was some puddles. I mean, and still it was a 38, but then I thought myself, maybe I can do a better lap. Maybe it's gonna be something better if I just do what I saw, what Killian did. And it actually hit me. So I kind of got the best lap of the qualifying session so far, and I know this lap can be a lot faster, but this is at this point the best I did. And as usual, I wanted to point out a couple of points that I think are very valuable in here, like this 100-meter sign. You brake actually at the 110, so a little bit before. But as you can see, I'm braking in a straight line and I don't want to really touch the curb. I did here. So you actually want to avoid the curb, because the curbs in wet conditions, I mean, they're slippery. You need to avoid them. And I'm just not using the whole track, which you would in normal conditions do. But in these wet conditions, you need to kind of adapt to all of this, and you need to use different lines, which again, it's going to be pretty difficult if it's like the first time in the wet. But as you can see, this car has a lot of downforce, and you need to carry the speed as much as you possibly can in here. So if you stop in erosion radion right about here, you will lose the downforce. So you need to kind of lift a little bit and put the power down immediately. This is the only way you're going to get out of that corner in one piece. Just saying. But here 100, and I brake at about 115, 120. I think you can brake at about 110, but that's hard. By the end of the curb on the left, you want to start turning in, but not with a lot of trail braking, because you just want to let the car go. You need to maintain the downforce. And going over the curbs here has, I mean, you probably can avoid the curbs not to lose too much control over the car, but I think it's faster to go over these curbs, and a little bit of a tighter line would be a little bit better, I would say. Maybe not too much, I mean, it wouldn't make much of a difference, but in general, every little thing on this track means a lot, and you need to really prioritize exits. And this is something that you're gonna see here, the beginning of the curb, but not actually the beginning. You can brake a little bit earlier, or if you want to slide your way into this turn, you can brake exactly at the curb. And this is exactly what you need to. You need to slide your way into some turns, which I noticed a little bit later. But here, it's kind of an easy tap on the brakes, nothing too much, because as I said before, you really don't want to stop the car. So basically about 25-30% is just about enough. The car was stable, but it should be sliding. It's faster when it's sliding in this area, and putting the power down immediately is better. I tried putting it slower, and it was kind of okay, but for the best possible result, you really need to put it down quickly. I mean, I know it's going to be slippery, but you have to find a way how to control the car, and especially even here. And I'm going into the turn, I'm downshifting in the third gear, but you want to maintain the speed, and the throttle shouldn't really go all the way up to 100%. It should stay at about 80, 85, maybe 90% and maintain that speed. So if you put the power down 100%, you know the car was too slow at that point, so you need to reduce the braking. So something like that, I mean, even this section is quite difficult to master. I mean, you have to reduce the braking as soon as you get into turning. So as soon as you started turning, you have to get off the brakes, otherwise the car will understeer. And this is kind of an unusual line. You can see that I'm going very, very wide because you got a puddle in here. And this is something that I really want to highlight. You can lose control here. You need to avoid this puddle. And as you're going out, this becomes kind of a stable acceleration zone. So you need to be very, very stable on the power. Otherwise, the car might slide and you might lose control. And even here, it's kind of seems, okay, it's a straightforward corner, but it's actually a downhill section. So you need to get off the brakes. Otherwise, the car will understeer. So if you stay on the brakes here, and of course, avoid the puddles as usual, you can use a bit of curbing on the way out, but it's a downhill section, so you have to be careful. Get your foot off the brakes. Here, as I said, it's just about avoiding the curbs. If you put at least one tire on the curb, the car will start rotating a little bit too much than you actually need it. And I think third gear, as I tried it before, it wasn't really like the best one. You need to use fourth and be very, very careful. But in this one, I think this is where I lose a lot of time. So basically, you can tap the brakes, but you need to I would say you need to maintain a little bit more speed than I did, at least like 5 to 6 kilometers per hour more. That's like 4 miles, and it makes a lot of difference in the end. And just as I go to my last braking point, which is the 150 meter mark, I have to highlight you can brake a little bit later, but I do recommend braking at 150. You will get the gold if you want to get into the top 10. Yeah, of course, you need to brake as late as possible. But here, it's something like the downhill section. You need to get off the brakes to make the car turn. And once again, I would like to highlight, I think I highlighted like a couple of times in this video, avoid the puddles, because the puddles will eventually make your wheels spin and you will lose a lot of control. And this was a 38.5, which was a fairly decent lap time for such a short period. But I also wanted to compare my time with Killian's. So Killian's one is on the left and I'm on the right side. And you can see that he's always prioritizing exits. He had less speed when he entered the turn, but more speed on the way out. And now he's carrying all that speed all the way down to the next braking point. Basically, okay, it's up to here because you're lifting here, but he's lifting a little bit less than I did. So he's maintaining downforce. And that downforce is actually helping him to make the corner faster. Of course, you need to lift, you need to know how to find the perfect balance in between turning and acceleration and all of that together, and of course entering the corner. But yeah, you need to kind of find a way to maintain that speed, and that's crucial with this car. You can see how he's actually cruising, I would say, not really staying on the brakes for that long, just tapping the brakes and just letting the car do the work for him. So he's using the downforce of the car, while me, on the other side, I'm just limiting myself. I'm not sliding that much. I'm just trying to make it safer around the corner and around the track and get that gold. But if you really wanna get like a competitive lap time, this is something that you need to see, and you need to understand how he is doing it. And that's exactly why I wanted to make this portion of the video. So basically you can see how much more speed he's carrying into this turn and how he's braking. So he's not braking as much as I am. And on the power, as I said, he's very stable while I'm like on and off the throttle. So this is something that I need to work on. And of course he's using more track, which in some cases might be not that great because you might spin, but for the time trial lap or just for the qualifying lap, it could be something that you want to get. I mean, in this area I was actually quite competitive, maybe like a tenth or two behind, which was really not that bad. I mean, and when you summarize all of this, some areas I'm losing a lot of time, in some areas I'm actually pretty decent, which, you know, it's a good sign, but it's a bad sign at the same time because I'm not able to carry the same speed. And I think the best way to explain all of this is that he's mostly braking in the straight line and then just letting the car do the work for him, and always pointing out the exit. So he's always focusing on the exit, not the entry into the turn. So I'm turning in a little bit sooner. He's just maintaining his line and then focusing to get the best possible line for the exit. And you can see, of course, using a lot more curbing in here, basically sliding into most of these turns. And this is something that eventually gets you like 2 seconds on the track. I mean, it was quite amazing to watch something like this, and I was very surprised in how he's maintaining speed and doing all of these things. But in the end, this was a gold, and it was quite an interesting one because I was 36th in the world. And now you can see what's the difference between the first guy and me, that I'm 36th in the world. We'll see how this is gonna go, but this is a gold, guys. So if you think this was a decent guide or a decent video, or if whatever this was, a kind of combination of the two, you can always hit the like button, or you might even want to subscribe to the channel. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed in this one, and if you did, you can always hit the like button, as I said before. And until the next time, bye.